Hello, 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 hello. Yeah. Just a second, just a second. Hello. Okay, great. Yeah, fine. So let's start. Yeah, okay. Thank you for your patience. First, apologies for everything. This is the first time I'm doing, so there are a few glitches which I wanted to get it corrected. So today we are going to discuss something about liquid biopsy. So liquid biopsy was a question which was asked in the recent AIIMS June 2020. So in this question, uh, I have written down the question on the top. I'll just go through the question first. Then we'll be going through what is liquid biopsy, and then we'll try to solve the question. Fine. So which of the following is true regarding liquid biopsy except the first option is it's a study of the fluid in the tumor microenvironment. The urine specimen is used. Sanger sequencing is used, and the DNA collected in microvesicles are studied. This was the question which came in the AIIMS June 2020, and we are going to discuss about liquid biopsy. I want to take time because this is a bit of a new topic for all of you guys. So maybe this number or maybe in PGI Chandigarh this question may get repeated. So listen carefully and take your notes. Okay. So first we have to see what does a liquid biopsy mean. So we have to understand what does a liquid biopsy mean. So once we understand what is a liquid biopsy, we can easily extrapolate and solve any question which is based on that. So as we all know that biopsy is nothing but I'm going to take a tissue and I'm going to study that's biopsy. So here I have the term liquid biopsy. So liquid biopsy means I'm going to take the blood or any liquid for that matter and I'm going to study the liquid. That's called as a liquid biopsy. Okay. So here liquid biopsy is I'm going to sample blood. We're going to sample blood, plasma or anything in the blood, can be saliva, can be urine, anything of the liquid material. We are going to sample it and we are going to understand about it and we are going to see how it's going to be helpful for us in the diagnosis. That's why we use the term liquid biopsy. Okay, that's reason for using the term liquid biopsy. So where do I do liquid biopsy? Liquid biopsy is used for the diagnosis of tumors, of cancers. I would say what is the advantage of using a liquid biopsy over a conventional biopsy? Then we'll see understand what does a liquid biopsy mean, what are the types of liquid biopsy we have, and how we are going to diagnose it. Let's take an example. You are seeing a patient who comes to you with a glioblastoma. Is it easy to take a brain biopsy? No, it's difficult, right? So instead of taking a brain biopsy, I want to study the glioblastoma morphology or genetic characteristic from the liquid, the blood, to diagnose it. So I can easily use it for an inaccessible site. Okay, I'm going to use it for an inaccessible site. We can't use a pus. Okay. Second thing, if let's assume that I have diagnosed it once by using a brain biopsy. Second time I want to see again for prognosis. I cannot put a hole in the skull and take a tissue again. So when something is inaccessible, I want to do it repeatedly. I cannot poke a patient. So with the help of scientific modification, we are going to do liquid biopsy. So what I am going to see in blood or saliva or urine, what we are going to see. There are three types of tumor components which comes to brain, saliva or urine, right? So in a liquid biopsy, we are going to divide them into three types of components. One, it is called as CTCs. Do remember CTCs. Questions may come on CTC for the only reason that CTC is one of the liquid biopsy which is being used these days in private practice, right? CTC stands for circulating tumor cells. Circulating tumor cells. Yes, Aman Ahmad, yes, I can use CSF, but same, it's an invasive procedure. So I'm going to for a non-invasive thing. That's why I prefer urine, saliva, or blood. Okay. Yeah, can be done for any tumors. Second thing, I'm going to call it an circulating cell-free DNA. The third one we are which can be used for liquid biopsies, exosomes. So all these three contents are coming from the tumor, which I can analyze and I can use it to study the characteristic of the tumor. Circulating tumor cells. Let's assume there is a squamous cell carcinoma of the oral cavity which goes to the blood. The circulating tumor cells will be very, very tiny quantity. Same goes for cell-free DNA. I'm going to have very little DNA in nanograms of DNA, right? You'll have just nanograms of DNA. In the circulating tumor cells, it will be 1 cell per 1000 WBCs, per 1 lakh WBCs, right? The amount is very less. 1 cell per 10 to the power 6 WBCs. That's all I'll have. Exosomes are microvesicles. That's what came there. It was a microvesicle. Fine. Right? They are microvesicles coming out from the cell. That was in the option as well. So I have 3 ways by which I can analyze the liquid biopsy, and I can tell to the clinician or give information to the patient that you having this tumor and you are having this prognostic method. So how do I do this? So CTCs, cell-free DNA, as well as your liquid biopsy, right? First, we'll consider an circulating tumor cells, which is more commonly done compared to the other 2 things. Fine. Circulating tumor cells, I'm just writing CTCs first. In a circulating tumor cell, we are going to take the tumor cell by centrifugation, by filtration, and different techniques. Okay, we'll filter out the tumor cell from the patient's plasma or the blood using ultracentrifugation methods. And once I filter tumor cell, I'm going to use either of these methods to analyze the genetic component of the tumor cell. I can use a Sanger sequencing. That was in one of the options as well. Okay. We can use a next generation sequencing. I'm writing NGS for next generation sequencing. Next, we can use a digital PCR. Right? We can use a digital PCR. I can use any 3 of this, so that in future also any 3 of this to analyze the circulating tumor cells, and based on the known genotype of the tumor, I'm going to tell, analyzing the circulating tumor cells in the blood, I'm going to say this patient has such a solid tumor, right? That's one thing. Second was my cell-free DNA. Cell-free DNA is also called as ctDNA. That's the other name, may be useful in exams. It's called circulating tumor DNA or cell-free DNA. They're going to be seen in nanograms. Same method, we're going to use an ultracentrifugation. We'll use an ultracentrifugation of the cell-free DNA, and then we can use a Sanger sequencing or NGS. You cannot use a digital PCR here because the quantity is very, very tiny. We can use a Sanger sequencing or an NGS to analyze the tumor data. Using that, we're going to analyze the tumor data. Once we analyze the tumor data, we can come to a diagnosis, or in some case the prognosis as well. The third one was also asked in your exam. The third one was exosomes. So what does an exosome means? So whenever there's a cell, any cell can happen. Exosomes can happen in any cell. It can also happen in a tumor cell, right? So when there is a cell, we're just going to go to the third type, which we are going to call it an exosomes. Let's assume this is a cell. Okay, let's assume a cell with the nucleus and all the cell components. So when the cell divides, tiny fragments of the cell can come outside. Because during cell division, I can have the tiny fragments coming outside. And tumor cells more so, because tumor cells divide in an extremely rapid, in a very, very rapid pace. So I'm going to have more cells which are going to divide, and I'll have more of these exosomes coming outside. These are called as exosomes. They are microvesicles. So what do these exosomes contain? They contain DNA, mRNA, and tumor's antigen as well. Right? These exosomes contain the DNA of the parent cell, the mRNA of the parent cell, and also tumor antigens. So once I have the DNA, mRNA, and the tumor antigens, I can use them to diagnose the tumor as well, right? So by analyzing these structures from the blood or urine or plasma of the patient, we can diagnose or help in the prognosis of the tumor, right? So that's the concept of liquid biopsy. Okay, that's the concept of liquid biopsy. We are just going to analyze the liquid, that's the blood or saliva or the urine of the patient, and we are going to come to a conclusion about the tumor. Okay, So now we'll go back to the question. These are three modalities or three different types of liquid biopsy I can use: exosomes, a cell-free DNA, and also your CTCs. These are three ways we can analyze in liquid biopsy. Now we'll go to the question. I think it'll be much easier for us. Which of the following is true about liquid biopsy except it is not studied in the fluid in the tumor microenvironment? I'm not going to go to the microenvironment of the tumor as such, right? It's not studied in the tumor microenvironment. Wrong. Urine specimen is used. Yes, they can be used. Sanger sequencing is used. Yes, they can be used. The DNA is collected in microvesicle. This is nothing but your exosomes, right? This is nothing but your exosomes that can be used as well. So the answer to this question is study of fluid in the tumor microenvironment. I'm not going to study the tumor microenvironment at all. It's going to the blood or serum component of whatever the tumor secretes. We are going to analyze that, and we are going to come to a conclusion, right? B, C, and D are true. The question is about all of the following except answer is going to be your answer A. Clear? Atul, it's different from FNAC for the only reason I'm not going to prick the tumor. I'm going to take the liquid blood of the patient, right? Yeah, Tarani Prasad, it's also the same like the modern technique which is used for detecting your Down syndrome and others. If you have any other doubts, you can ask me. Broski, taking tumor microenvironment is same like taking a biopsy. It's nothing different like it's same like a normal biopsy. We can use synovial fluid as well as pleural fluid, but again it's more of an invasive procedure than taking a blood or anything. So that's why we want a less invasive procedure. We go for these alternatives. Suraj Jyoti Datta, hemat malignancy I'm not bothered because even otherwise we are diagnosing hematological malignancy only via blood diagnosis. I don't want this specifically. It can be used for any tumor, any solid malignancy, not for hematological malignancy. Yes, Ayush Singh, testicular biopsies, any solid malignancies, we can use this and we will be able to try to come to a conclusion. Pallavi, we'll see Sanger sequencing in one other video later on, okay? Like any test, it has its own positive predictive value and negative predictive value. That will be that like any test. But yes, with clinical information, fairly decent diagnosis can be made. Dr. Shruti. Okay? If you have any other doubts, you can ask me on Telegram or Instagram or on the FB group. Thank you for your time. All the very best. Meet you soon again with a different question and the entire section of lectures. Till then, bye-bye from me. Bye-bye.